My name is Christy Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called Fate, From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your fate. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Fate. How's everybody doing today? On today's show, I'm very excited to bring you my guest. His name's David Gaggin. He has a book out called Our Eternal Existence. It is all about the nature of a reality, the many complexities, what death is. David, welcome to your fate, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Christy. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you so much for your time. I have to admit, almost every single guest I bring on the show, at some point I ask them what they think the nature of reality is. What are we doing here? I talk about it often on this show, and I cannot thank you enough for coming on and discussing your book, because it really is such a wealth of information that I can't encourage people enough to go out and pick up, because it explains so much about our existence, how complex it is, the nature of death. I can't wait to get into it all. I read it, and I loved it. And we are aligned in a lot of ways. And although I don't have the vast knowledge that you do, I have felt like I've had that sort of belief in what our existence is as well. So I gotta say, you are the perfect guest that I would like to bring to my audience. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
So let's start at the very, very beginning. How did you become so inquisitive about our reality? How did your spiritual journey begin? How did you come across getting into the topic of the nature of a reality?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's, and I've had discussions with Michael about it, the entity Michael, and he basically said it's why you came here. It was what your purpose is here. But when I was young, I was in high school, and my father would he'd give me these crazy books to read, and I'd read them, Aku Aku or whatever, and then he'd say, "Wait, what do you think?" And I'd say, "Dad, I don't have a clue what that book was all about." And but I was always interested in it, and religion never worked for me. I remember being about 14 or 15, and I'm sitting in church. I was raised an Episcopalian. And I was sitting in church looking around at all the beautiful stained glass windows and the pomp and ceremony. And I thought, I don't know what the answer is, but this isn't it. And then I had to make a living. So I became an engineer, and I spent my life doing engineering type of things. But I had a lot of time, which I did a lot of travel. So I was in a lot of airports. I was in a lot of hotel rooms. I had time to research, and I spent my whole life researching everything that I could find. And I never really knew what the answer was going to be. And I wasn't going to fool myself. You can fool other people, but you can't fool yourself. So, sometimes I thought the information would come in bits and pieces. And sometimes I'd think, oh, this isn't looking good. And then other pieces would come in, and finally I was able to put it all together. And it is a good story. It's a very good story. It's an outstanding story. So that's it's kind of been my life goal, I'd say.
So interesting. In your book, you talk about Michael and Seth a lot. Are you a channeler? Do you have the capabilities to channel other entities? In full disclosure, I know of Seth. I've read Seth Speaks. So when you started talking about that, I had a background knowledge of what that was, and how Jane channeled Seth, who is an entity from another dimension. But can you talk a little bit about Seth and Michael, what information you glean from them and who they are in the big picture when it comes to spirituality and things of that nature?
Yes, I can. Seth is, as you just pointed out, Seth is a group of souls, and he's a group of about 1,000 souls, if you will, and we travel in groups, and one of the groups is called an entity, and that entity is we work together start out in the physical world, we go back and forth to the physical, from the physical field to the astral field. And when all of the souls in that group of 1,000, are finished the physical incarnations, then they join together and they travel to the causal plane, and there's 7 fields of creation. The physical, astral, and the causal are 3 of them, and they travel there. And one of the things that they do is they try to help humanity, and in their cycle, this is one of the times that they try to help humanity. So they will go through channels and communicate with people like Jane Roberts or whoever, and they will try to provide that type of information, any type of information. Either they decide. In Jane Roberts' case, it was more Seth deciding what to say than it was Jane Roberts asking questions. In the Michael entity, and I am not a channel, but Shepherd Hoodwin is a particularly good Michael entity channel. Um, he works differently, and you can ask him questions. And he is, again, a group of souls, and they take the name of the last soul, the name that the last soul of the 1,000 had on Earth, and that's what they call themselves. And so you never know who you're talking to, but they all communicate together and such. So yeah, they're a fascinating group, and I found Michael particularly interesting because he was able to answer all of my many questions, whereas Seth told us a huge amount, but Michael was much more active in doing it, and I've had a number of really good sessions with Michael.
I'll have to look up Michael. I have not heard of that entity, but I definitely was completely fascinated by all the information Seth had downloaded through Jane, and it really broadened my perspective on a lot about what and who we are. Let's talk a little bit about, I only have an hour here. Your book, it goes so much into more detail than I would ever be able to talk about in the 1 hour that we have. So I just want to kind of do broad strokes on the basics. But one of the things that interested me that I didn't know about was the basic level of the types of energy that are out there. The consciousness unit, what a spark is, what a gestalt is, how it's all connected. Can you give the broad strokes? Because I feel like that's an interesting concept that not many people would even think to know about. It was new information for me.
Okay, it's a big subject that you just
it's
threw
a huge,
out.
yes.
So let me see if I can do it justice in a short period of time. In our eternal existence, I go into fairly good detail of it, and I also tell you where you can get more detail. But to start out, probably the best thing to know is that we are all energy, and the only thing that exists is conscious energy. Science will tell you that it's neurons that give us consciousness, and that's not the case. Everything is conscious, and that's a very strange concept. When you think about, it's strange enough that we think that our pets and so on and so forth are conscious, but plants are conscious, rocks are conscious. There is nothing that exists that isn't conscious, and that's a little hard to fathom. But and that's the same way with your car. Your car is made up of conscious energy. Now, the difference between your car and you, for example, is you aspire to things your car doesn't. Your car is just individual energy that will disappear and go off and join other energy in time. But that still you ought to be nice to your car, because if you treat it poorly, it might know it. So be cautious. But yes, everything is a spark. I call sparks. I use the term, and it's just my definition of the spiritual entity within something, and that's the spark within it. And then as you get more evolved, if you will, you can you come to a point where we are, and we in our soul and such like that. And then I changed the terminology to spirits, a spiritual, but it's all the same substance. It's all one substance, and it's just at different levels of evolution.
Fascinating. As far as one of the other concepts that I think that people would be interested to learn about is how the various levels of planes, the multi-dimensional nature of our existence, and how we exist, our energy exists on various planes, and through expansion of consciousness and learning, we can you talk a little bit about the causal plans, the mental planes that I
I
think it was
can.
called the yes, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. There is a basic source, if you will, and that's the Tao. I call it the Tao. You can call it universal consciousness. You can call it God if you want. Call it all that is. And there is a basic place, if you will, psychological domain where everything in existence lives. And then what we try to do is we try to go out and have experiences, because we're trying to learn. And we're trying to learn about ourselves, because, quite frankly, that's the only thing that there is. The Tao, everything exists in the Tao. So the Tao is trying to learn about itself. And we are trying to learn about a little tiny part of the Tao, and that's you and me. So, so what we do is we go and we go and we want to have experiences. And there are in this universe 7 fields of creation. And those fields of creation are the physical plane, which we're all very familiar with, the astral plane, where we go when we die, the causal plane, where Seth and Michael are right now, the mental plane, where you go after that, the Messianic and the Buddhaic planes. Now, and then after you experience all of those, you end up going back to the Tao and trying to understand what you've learned and all the experience you've had, and then you decide what you want to do next. Each one is its own reality. Now, there's a 7th. I told you there were 7 planes of 7 planes or fields. Fields is another good word instead of plane, because plane kind of makes you think you're sitting on something. Well, you're not. You're embedded in a field, and that's the Akashic field. And the Akashic field is the record keeping portion of our fields of creation, and so everything that's learned goes into the Akashic record. So everything that we learn, when we're done, we transfer it back to our essence. Our essence picks it up, goes over it, compares it with the essence, with the inputs from many other souls and many other personalities, sends it all to the Akashic field. Then the Akashic field takes all of the inputs from the entire universe and decides what we've learned and what we haven't, and that's the information that goes into that field. Now, we are one universe. I am aware through Michael that there are 12 other universes that Michael is aware of. And this is just one of them. And our universe is based on 7. So you'll see a lot of things. There's 7 fields of creation. There's 7 colors in the the rainbow, and you go on and on. So so basically, that's what it is. We are in a universe, in a reality that gives us a certain experience. And a reality is an interesting thing because it's an illusion, if you will, because it simply means that things aren't like they appear to be. They seem that way to us. It allows us to have experiences, but to have a reality, you need to have the energy in a certain position, and then you have to have some way to sense it, to perceive that energy. And that's what we have. So the energy is what we call matter. It's in a certain position. And then our 5 senses allow us to perceive that matter in a certain way. And so it's it's a very unique type of setup, and the odd matter that we have here that we take for granted as in our root assumptions are that it's we assume that this is the way everything is, and it's not. It's just one small set of circumstances that we chose. We chose to come here. We chose to have this experience because we thought we would learn a lot from it, and that's really what the various universes and the realities are about. But there's millions of realities, millions of which I only know a few.
It's really mind-bending and hard to comprehend that is the true nature of our existence. It really does completely change your perspective on so many things. It's fascinating. Let's talk a little bit about the pre-planning of life and how really detailed it is as far as what kind of archetype we're going to be here, what kind of things we will accomplish, what our biases will be. Can we talk a little bit about, before we get here, everything that is already preordained or planned for us? I thought that was just truly
it's mind-boggling.
Miraculous.
Yes, it is.
It is mind-boggling. It is.
The world is more planned than you think. Now, that's not to say we don't have free will, but it's more planned than you think. And it's not easy to come down to this physical world. So to come here, you need to have a plan. You need to have a detailed plan, and you need an awful lot of help to do it. So we have a soul. We call it a soul. You call it your inner conscious. Whatever. We have a huge amount of us that has not incarnated into our personality, if you will. And it stays back, and it's the one that drives what we do, encourages us to do things, but doesn't force us. No conscious can force another conscious to do anything. And that that soul, our soul, is the one that said, "Hey, I want to have certain set of experience. So this is what I want to experience." So it decides what it wants to do in each incarnation. So it says, okay, experience. If you think about experiences, if you go to a ball game, for example, and you're with your buddy, and you go to the football, and you watch, then you both want to see your team win, and you both are big fans of that team. You both eat the exact same thing. You're sitting right next to each other in the stadium. You'll have very different experiences. You'll have different experiences because you look at the world differently, and everybody does. So our soul says, all right, I want to have a certain kind of experience. So it'll say, these are my goals, if you will, for this particular life. And these are my attitudes that I'm going to have. And these are the the way I'm going to use my energy. And these are my chief obstacles that I want. And this is the type of body that I want. So what it does is it provides that kind of energy into the personality that it's going to create. So each one of us are very different. So when we say we reincarnate, yes, we reincarnate, but our personality doesn't come back. What comes back is a different version of our soul that allows our soul to see things differently. For example, we come down here, and right now, hot subject is liberals and conservatives, right? Everybody wants, everybody thinks they're one or the other, or a lot of people do. Well, you are a liberal or a conservative because of what your soul wanted you to be. And the next time around, you're liable to be the other thing because your soul is going to want to watch it. You're going to want to experience the same event, but experience it differently. So we come down with all this different energy, and the purpose of it is to give us different experiences.
What I felt was so eye-opening was the fact that we're so, number one, we live in a world where we think we're all individuals and we're not connected, and we are connected. And the other tidbit that I thought was pretty cool was thinking, multinationals, rich, poor, famous, all of these things that people are, you choose to come back and be a certain, maybe someone of an ethnic background, it is, how do I say this? It led me to believe how silly it is that we see each other as better, worse, this, that, because it is all about the level of experience that you're wanting to come down and have here. And it is much less about your status, what color you are, what you do for a living. It is all choice. And we are so hard on each other for things in which we would be much more understanding and compassionate and empathetic if we understood that we're all here having a chosen journey to experience and broaden whatever we're looking to do in this particular lifetime. I hope as many people as possible read this book because it really does change your perspective on how to look at our reality and how we perceive our realities. And
Right.
as far as liberals and conservatives, I kind of feel like that is a red shirt, blue shirt game. And there is going to be no winner in that.
Right. There's no winner in any of this stuff except individually what we learn and we experience. We choose our parents, and they choose us. So right away, that sets you up for what culture you're going to be. Where you're going to be born, what type of person you're going to be. Certainly, your what we call race, although there's really only one race, and it's the human race. And so we choose our kids, we choose our spouse, and we and sometimes you might choose a spouse, and you might say, okay, we're going to be together, we're going to have some kids, and then we're going to we want to separate, and therefore we want to learn how to do that in a certain way. So, you don't know what you've signed up for and what you've agreed to. You kind of go along in life doing the best you can. But, we have all of these plans. And then think about spouses and parents. You probably have to choose about a dozen of them because you don't know for a parent, if they're going to be having kids when it comes around to be your turn. You might be number 3 and they may not have any, or they may be just have 2. So you have a bunch of different people. Each one of these people and spouses, same situation. You don't know if they're gonna be available or whatever. You'll have different things you want to accomplish. There's a lot of things to accomplish, a lot of experiences to have. So you really don't know. You're kind of working your way through. And the interesting thing I find is that your soul is there encouraging you upward and onward. And, all these things are like synchronicity. Well,
Yeah.
we think that that's a fluke out there, but everybody goes through it, and it's their life changing experiences. Well, what it really is these are meetings that the soul has planned for you, and when it's time for you to have that, whatever it takes to push you in a different direction, you'll have it because the soul made it happen for you. It's not luck. Now you don't have to follow through. You can have somebody there and you say, boy, that's an interesting opportunity, but I'm afraid to take it. So I'm not going to do it. And then the soul will say, all right, that didn't work. So let's try something else. And encouraging you upward and onward to have the experiences that, one, you agreed to and forgot about, and the soul would like you to have. So it's an interesting arrangement.
It is. And I think that if more people kind of paid attention to that internal gut instinct, that pull that we all have, that many of us don't believe is real for whatever reason, we're just programmed to believe that these thoughts, feelings, gut instincts, whatever you want to call them, are not really tangible because it's beat out of us as the time where we're young, where we're filled with science, we're filled with religion, we're filled with things that of this nature couldn't possibly be true. And if people really did pay more attention to the synchronicities, the internal knowingness that pull that we all feel, it would keep us on our soul journeys a lot easier.
It would.
I mean, we all have free will. We all have the capacity to do whatever we want with our lives. When we get off of our life path and we don't do our soul purpose, do you feel that at times that's when maybe tragedy enters or something enters to kind of knock us back over to the only reason I'm asking this is because I grew up atheist. I never had any kind of spiritual tendencies. I grew up in the church like you. It never spoke to me. It was never something that I felt was true. And so I grew up relying on science and if I couldn't see it, touch it, say, taste it, smell it, it wasn't a happening. And it was only through a health crisis that I had that I ended up expanding my mind and getting into energy healing and getting into things that I couldn't see, touch, taste, or smell, but were working for me. And now it has just launched me into a completely different path in my life. And I feel maybe sometimes when people get off of their purpose, that life has a way, or your internal spirit guides have a way of jarring you or shaking you to awaken you.
Yes.
What do you feel about that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think they encourage you and nudge you all the time. And if you listen to we've all had intuition that we've ignored. And undoubtedly every time it doesn't work out so well for it. And so we're always getting this encouragement to do certain things. But if we get far enough off track, they'll start doing more and more things to try to get us back on track. So absolutely. And I'll tell you, I think if you get far enough off track, they'll put an end to the life. I think, you see a lot of these terrorists and big time criminals, they don't last that long. A lot of them die young. And I think that's the soul is saying, man, I'm working up an awful lot of karma here that I'm going to have to work off. So I think we'll put an end to this one and try it again. So I think there are circumstances. So yes, I absolutely believe. And I think disease is a good one. We bring a lot of this stuff on ourselves. Matter of fact, we bring it all on ourselves. And they try to guide us and give us the best opportunity to succeed. And if you listen and you don't have fear is a killer. Because if you're afraid to take advantage and to go through a door that opens up, you're missing an opportunity. And sometimes those doors are a little scary to go through. But, if you do, then you got all this help, spiritual help, that's gonna get you through it.
Yeah, if you go through it, the good stuff is on the other side. You just kind of gotta go through the door.
Gotta go through the door.
Speaking of fear, there is, including myself, there's so much fear around death. And as much as our lives are pre-planned and very thoroughly thought out, so is when we die. And can we talk a little bit about what actually death is and what happens when we die? I think
Yes.
it absolutely fascinating.
Okay. Death, number one, we in our pre-life plan, we not only plan who we're gonna be born to and how that's gonna work, we plan when we're gonna be born, and we also have exit plans. And the exit plans determine when we die. And it depends on how your life's going, depending on what path you've taken, to determine exactly when your exit plan is going to be. But we have exit plans. So all death is a transition from the physical field back into the astral field. That's all it is. You're just going back. And you can think of life as like a business a trip. And on a business trip, what do? You make a plan for what you're going to do. You go off, you get, to travel to some place, you go do something, things change. It doesn't work exactly as you thought it was going on your business plan. So you have to adapt to it. And then you go home and you think about it and study about it. And then you go off on another business trip. Well, that's the way life is. So what we're doing is we're going back, and when we go back, we try to understand what went right and what went wrong. So the first thing that happens is when you die, and you might just hang around for a little while. You might if you're going to have if you had a sudden death, you might want to stay and see how your family and friends were dealing with all of this. And you're probably in a little bit of shock too, if all of a sudden you weren't planning. My wife died suddenly about 7 years ago, and she hung around for a little while, and because she wasn't planning at all. I mean, she was healthy, and all of a sudden her heart stopped. So, we get in these circumstances. But then what happens is you eventually, a lot of people see a tunnel, and and all you got to do is follow the tunnel. There's a light at the end of it, and all you got to do is think, that's where I want to go, and bingo, that's where you go. And then what happens is it depends a lot on your view of life. And if you think there is nothing afterwards, you may, and this may happen right as soon as you die, you may all of a sudden go into a coma and nothing's going on. Won't last all that long. Pretty soon they'll come and, and they'll say, reality is really a little different than what you thought it was. And the same way, if you're very devout and you think that, the devil and God will be battling for your soul. Well, when you come back into, when you die, all of a sudden you're in the midst of these battles for your soul, and they'll say, "Oh, you're doing good," and such. And then after a while, they'll say, "Well, the devil was really your Uncle Bob, and this is kind of how this is how it goes." But then so what they're doing, they're trying to ease you back into a different reality, and the astral plane is not true reality. It's another illusion. It's a very different illusion than this one, but it's another illusion, and we have to get used to it. And then what we do is we have a life review. Well, we meet all our friends and our relatives, of course, and then we have a life review where we get to experience what other, how we made other people feel. And that's interesting. If you've generally made people feel well in your life, then it'll be a pleasant experience. If you've been a a thorn in everybody's side, you'll feel how prickly you were. So you go through that period, and then you get a chance to rest, and you get a chance to travel around the universe and see other cultures. You can do anything you want, visit with your friends and such. And then there comes a point where you have a life analysis, and a life analysis is different, and that's where you look at the decisions that you made, and you're working with very intelligent souls, and they say, "You see this decision you made? We all know what happens there because you have total recall." Said, "If you'd have done this, look what would have happened." And you get a chance to see how you caused everything that happened in your life. The good stuff, the bad stuff, you caused it. And nobody else, there are no victims in life. You caused it. And so you get a chance to learn and hopefully remember for the next round what happens. And then in time, if you're going to have more reincarnations, which most of us are, then your soul says, "Okay, let's see what we want to do the next time around." And then you start planning having your pre-life plan, and you put that into works.
Reincarnation. So let's talk a little bit about that as far as the many, many, many lives we experience. It is beyond comprehension the multitude of different lives that we will live as souls, not only on this plane, but on other planes. Can we talk a little bit about what reincarnation means for us?
Okay. You as a person, the Christy that you are will never come back here, but your inner self will come back here, and your inner self will come back here with other with other biases, with other goals, with other attitudes, and you'll come back and try to have other experiences. You'll always remember who you are. You will never stop being yourself, but you'll go and you'll do what you will do. Now, we have within us a memory of all our previous lives, and that's why you can do hypnotic regression. And when you get hypnotized, you can go back into your past lives. You can go back into your in-between lives. All of that information is in your subconscious right now, and you can get it if you look for it, and you're able to put away the senses that you have here that's keeping you from seeing that those type of experiences. But yes, you come back, and it's your soul. Your soul creates these various vehicles, and the soul has to create the vehicles. A lot of people say, "Well, why didn't this? Why do you need a personality when you have a soul?" But the trouble with a soul, it would see right through this illusion, and it couldn't experience it. It needs a vehicle, and that vehicle is you and me. It's our, and everything else that's in, that we see around us. You have to have a vehicle. Again, the energy can be in the place that it's, that it is. But if you're not sensing it, if you're sensing more than that energy, there's a lot of energy around us that we don't sense. And if you could sense that, you could see what the real reality was, and you wouldn't be able to have the experiences that you want. So you have to be able to feel that this is a reality. This is the only place that exists, and therefore I do have dangers here, and I can stop existing, and I can be afraid, and don't step out in front of the bus, because that will end it all. So you have to be embedded in the illusion, and every illusion that you're in, you'll have different perspectives on it.
Yeah, you have to buy into the to the game in a way, or you're not going to truly get everything that you're going to get out of this life. If you didn't believe, if you know, that this was real and that this was the not an illusion, then you're never going to be able to expand your consciousness and learn what you're supposed to learn down here. You have to be able to buy into the game.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no question about it.
I think that you would be a perfect person to tell me the definition of exactly what karma is. A lot of people have different beliefs or definitions of what exactly karma is, karmic ribbons you describe in your book. What is karma? How does it affect us? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, karma. When we interfere with somebody else's life, then we owe them the energy that they've put into having the experiences that they're not going to have. In other words, if we, it's obviously if you killed somebody, that stops them having experiences. So what we owe them that experience. So they set up a ribbon, if you will, that both of these souls are tied together, and they're tied together, whereas somebody owes somebody something. And if you want to break that and not do that karmic experience, then they have to agree to it. Both sides have to agree to it. But and it's really you might go and say, okay, I want to have this life, and I want to get rid of this one particular karmic burden. And you go and talk to this person, and they say, I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to do it in this life. Then you can't. The one that's owed the karma makes the decision whether it's willing to accept the that karma. But it's basically owing somebody else the energy that they've expended to have experiences that you've prevented them from having. It's not a punishment. It's simply that's what you owe people, and it's a learning tool.
It's interesting, and they say that you will continue to come back until your karmic debt is repaid. That you will absolutely reincarnate here, and just so you know, I've had my destiny cards read, and I was told that this is my last time on this rock, and that is one of the reasons why I've never had children, and that I'm living the life that I'm living, which is kind of very solo. I'm not married or anything. Is that I am not here to create more karma for myself. I am here to fulfill my sole purpose, and that this is my last journey on this rock. I don't know if this is true, but this is what a destiny card reader told me a few years ago. He said, "This is it for you. You're not coming back anymore."
Well,
and I was like, "Really?"
Well, that is one of the things when we have children, we have a bond, if you will, with that person that's still in this reality. And so you're less likely, if it's your last time, you're much less likely to have children and to have strong bonds left on this planet, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to separate yourself. You want to break free from the physical plane. And if you have all of these things, and it can be karma, but it's more likely that it's just the bonds that you don't want to have. Now you do have to finish the karmic cycle, and so that's an issue. But you're absolutely right. That's you could well be, and we do have a certain number, and then we move on and do something else. So you have to meet a number of requirements to do it. You can stay as long as you want. Some people stay for a long time. The teachers, and it's like going to college. some people get in, get out in 4 years, and thank you very much, and other people hang around and they're teachers, and they'll teach for 30 years, and so it's it's everybody's life is set up for certain experiences.
Some of the things that you talk about in your book, I have said so many times on this show. I say very often, be careful about what you think, what you feel, and what you believe, because it will show up in your outer world. Through my spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening, one of the concepts that I've really kind of gleaned onto is the law of attraction. Like attracts like in this world. And you speak about how thought, our energy, our matter, and have the ability to create certain things in your outer world. And can you talk a little bit about the metaphysical aspect of things, and how thoughts, emotions, their energy, and they can materialize in our reality, and how important it is to monitor what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because it has such a great impact on our daily lives that most people don't even acknowledge or aware of. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yes. Our soul creates experiences and objects for us to have, and to us to have experience with, and it does this through implementing our expectations. And when I talk about expectations, I'm not talking about the things that you think about as on a daily basis. I'm talking about your deep expectations, and the ones that are built into you and you really believe in. For example, if you believed that you were always sickly, and that was and that was just your role in life. You're a sickly person, and that's gonna that's what's it's gonna happen to you. Then you are actually creating further sicknesses, because your soul will say, he thinks he wants to experience sickness, so we'll get him to experience sickness. It can be poverty. If you say, well, I can't make money to save my life, I'm always going to be poor. Well, that's fine. You always will be poor, because that's what you expect, and that's what you get. So what you need is, there was a book written, 50, 70 years ago about the power of positive thinking. And it's very, very true. You need to think about the things that you want to happen, and you need to concentrate on those things. And if you want to, and if things aren't going well for you, and you're sick, for example, you might take half a dozen times a day, and just think of yourself, picture yourself as a healthy person doing healthy people things. You don't want to picture yourself as getting healthy, because that reinforces the sickness. You want to picture yourself as being healthy, being well off, being happy doing things. And if you have some particular ailment, make sure you're visualizing yourself doing things that you couldn't do with that ailment. If you have trouble walking, picture yourself playing tennis or whatever. And you can get your inner self to change your life. It will give you what you expect way deep down inside, your root beliefs. You will be able to manifest, and your inner self will manifest it for you. So it's a type of thing that we get in a rut, and then we still start feeling sorry for ourselves. And then we feel sorry for ourselves, and we think, oh, poor pitiful me. And then all of a sudden, you are poor pitiful you, because you've just
Created that. Yes.
And we create what happens to us. There are no victims in life. We create this stuff. And I try to explain it in our eternal existence, and explain it to people that, hey, listen, if you want to change things around, you have to change your expectations, and you have to communicate with your inner self and make sure your inner self knows what you expect to happen, and you want something better than what you're getting now.
I love that. And I did read that in your book. And I actually going to take just that advice, because when I think about my health, I think about my when I meditate, I think about myself healing, and I'm always healing. And I was like, that one shift, instead of thinking of yourself as healing, thinking of yourself as healed, is going to be the powerful shift that maybe I need to make in my life. I've come a long way in my health. I was very sick a decade ago. I'm still not where I want to be. And I'm at the point where I've kind of left Western medicine behind, and I'm focusing on using solely alternative methods to try and get myself back to 100%. And meditation is a part of that, as well as some other things, energy healing, Reiki healing, and so on. But taking the time, 5 minutes a day, and visualizing myself already healed, in the gym, running, doing things that I haven't been able to do in over a decade, I think is going to be a powerful mindful switch that I'm going to start practicing myself,
I
for
think
sure.
that's great. I guarantee you it will help you. And the more you've been settled into the old way, the more often that you want to do this. And if you're doing meditation, that's a really good time to do it, because you're really getting down into your deep thoughts and you're really communicating. I think that's an excellent idea. And people need to realize that they're where they are because of the decisions that they've made, and they don't have to stay there. They can move on, but they can't. Your spouse isn't going to help. Your parents aren't going to do it. The government's not going to do it. Your boss isn't going to do it. You got to do it, but you can do it. That's the beauty. The fact that it's you caused it. That's the negative side. The positive side, if you caused it, you can fix it, and that's the
Right.
beauty of it.
I mean, you talk a little bit about in your book, and we're coming up towards the end of our time, but one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is victimhood and spiritual ignorance, and how if you read this book and you start understanding that we are way more powerful creatures than what we give ourselves credit for, and we are absolutely in the business of co-creating our existence, and that if we were to just put some practice in our daily lives with regards to even intentions, even if you don't want to meditate, if you are vibrating at a higher level, if you are thinking those positive affirmations, if you are listening to your inner intuition, how impactful that could be on your daily life, and how, in my opinion, religion is never going to offer you anything like that, because you're constantly looking to, whether it be your priest, your elder, your pastor, God, or what the religion thinks of as God. You're looking for somebody else to save you, to help you, to get you into heaven. And really, we need to be relying on our own inner existences that we have to guide us and to heal us and to bring us what we really truly need in this existence.
You're absolutely right. We have so much power, and we create the world we live in. And if you don't like the world you live in, then you can change it, but you need to change it. And you might have to change some of your beliefs along the way. And there's nothing harder than changing your deep down beliefs. But if you can do that, and if you can change that, you can change the bad things that are happening to you, and you can make other things happen. And the power is in yourself. Everybody is that way. You're not a victim. People have a tendency to think that, no, somebody else caused them trouble. Nobody else caused them any trouble. It was the decisions that they made that caused them trouble. And the beauty again is, you make other decisions and you'll get yourself out of trouble. You can be what you want to be, and you have the power to do that. And it's amazingly freeing. It gives you, it allows you to take control of your life and stop worrying about these other things. And you're a spectacular person. Everybody who's listening to this show, everybody who's on this planet, they're spectacular beings. And this is a tough place to live. This is a tough set of experiences. This is the toughest part of this particular grand cycle as you go from the towel through all of these fields of creation. And it's not easy. And when you're having a bad day, you look and you say, "Boy, why did I choose this?" Well, you chose it because you wanted to learn, and you're a courageous individual. Every one of us are courageous individuals for doing this. And because we're courageous individuals, we can solve this problem. We can treat others like we'd want others to treat us, and treat ourselves like we'd like others to treat us. And we can do it.
Yes. I mean, the one running thread between every religion we have on the planet is the golden rule, this treat others as we would like to be treated. I mean, you see it in every religion on the planet. And I think that there is a place for religion. And I think that the very, very beginnings of, whether you want to say Jesus or Buddha or whoever that you want to put at the center of your practice, I believe that they were meant to bring good. There was good intentions there. I think that man has corrupted the principles. They have withheld who we really are, what we really are. You speak about in your book that reincarnation was a part of Christianity, that it was a known thing, that this wasn't the only life that we would have, that we would be coming back, and that things have been withheld from us in order to gain power, control over our daily lives, and put us in fear. There's so much fear that is pumped into us regarding death, regarding, so many aspects of our lives, that if we were to take fear out of the equation and understand that we are co-creators of our existence, it would allow people to, it's not going to happen overnight. David and I certainly aren't saying that if tomorrow you start meditating 10 minutes a day, that it's going to be instantaneous. It is going to be a journey. It's a practice. It's an evolution. It is learning to change who you are at your core and what you believe at your core. And it's not easy. My mom always says, nobody likes change but babies.
She's right. Change is one of the hard things that we go through, but that's, if you don't like where you are, change something, and don't try to change it all at once. Pick the worst thing that's bothering you and just work on it. Just try to fix something. Don't try to fix everything simultaneously. Just fix what's really bugging you. And then when that starts getting better, you can work on the next thing that's really bugging you.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be overwhelming for sure. The amount of people, even myself, the amount of stuff that I need to fix. But it's a process,
and that's why we're here, to have these problems and to feel it and to experience it. That's why we're here. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. We're supposed to enjoy life. We spend, we're spending eternity doing this, and we might as well enjoy it. They want us to enjoy it. We're supposed to enjoy it. And this is the hardest time in our experiences, our travels, to actually enjoy it. But that's the whole purpose of life. Enjoy it, learn, but enjoy the process as it happens.
Yes. Life on the planet is becoming increasingly difficult, it feels, for many people. And I feel like this book is just such I don't feel that religion is really giving people what they need. I feel like if they really understood spirituality, if they really understood life's purpose, that it is a pre-planned event, that we are all here as fellow travelers to the grave to have an experience, and we are connected, I think it could change the consciousness of the planet and raise the vibration and allow better things to come about in our exterior realities, for sure.
I agree 100%. And that's really why I wrote it. It's our eternal experience. And that's why I wrote it, so that other people could hopefully have a different view of themselves and their
Yes.
reality and what's around them. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
I do think you're right.
I mean, I really feel that people are losing their ability. They're losing their humanity, their ability to connect to one another. And I think they're so distracted by negativity and fear. And it's hard to sustain yourself in this world lately that it's almost impossible to slow down and really have deep thought. I also feel like our emotions, they lead us around without thinking. We feel things, we react without processing, thinking, allowing ourselves to see different perspectives is difficult. There's so many things preventing us from being able to connect and understand what and who we are. And your book does such an amazing job of going into detail about our pre-lives, what we're who we are and what we are here to do, what happens in death. And I know for me, since I've stepped on my spiritual path, I no longer fear death. I don't. I know that I am a being of light. I know that I'm a soul, and I know that I will go on to exist in some form after this 3D plane. And it has given me a lot of peace because I did spend many years of my life fearing death and thinking, oh, this is it. You know, my consciousness, my being, who I am, my personality is going to evaporate when I die. And I have completely and totally changed my opinion on that, my perspective on that. And I have much less fear in my life in general. So that has been a gift for me. I think fear can hold us back from many things in life. And now I do look at doors as opportunities and not something I should fear, but something that I should open, which is why I'm doing this podcast. It's a new door for me.
Exactly. Okay, that's good. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
On that note, David, I really can't thank you enough for coming on my show and explaining to the audience the many facets of our existence on this planet and how complex and beautiful and amazing it really is. And I encourage everyone to pick up the book by David. It's called Our Eternal Existence. And I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or
Get it on
anywhere where you
Amazon.
would.
Yeah. Yeah. You go to my website, davidgaggin.com, and it's Gaggin. You go to my website and it'll take you right to the book. So it's easy to get. It's again, it's the type of book I think that you can read part of and try to digest it, and sometimes depending on where you are in your spiritual journey, you can read through it and see what's all in there, and then go back and work on whatever piece that you want to concentrate on, and it's I think it'll help a lot of people. Help themselves be able to see who they are and to realize what a spectacular person they really are.
I agree. It is such a deep well of knowledge. And we didn't really touch on every single part of the book that you discuss. You know, there's many aspects that we would not be able to get to in an hour between, just please go and do yourself a favor, pick up this book, read it, and it will truly change your perspective, your outlook on what you think our reality is, and really open the door to a level of knowledge that I know I never would have had I not read the book. So I'm internally grateful for not only you coming on the show, but the opportunity to read the book and gain the knowledge, because it's just it's a must read in my opinion, and I think it could change the world if enough people read this book. It could virtually change our consciousness. So, David, thank you again for being a part of the Fate podcast. I truly appreciate you coming on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this episode of Fate. And journey well, everyone. We'll see you on next week's episode. Bye. And that is a wrap on this episode of From Atheism to Enlightenment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I do this show, for conversations like this one with David. I absolutely thought it was the most jam packed informational episode I have done on this show when it comes to the nature of our reality. We touched on all of the buttons, from karma to energy to what happens when we die. I mean, it was spectacular in my opinion. It was yum, 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 yum. Yummy. I really hope you gleaned tons of information from this one. I really do, because I just think this book was something that when I read it, it just pinged all the intuitive notions that I've been having about spirituality and about our lives. And I just think, if more people could be exposed to this kind of information in an open-minded way. You have to be open-minded. If you are going to shut down every single time you hear a concept that does not align with something that you already know, I don't know. And I'm not saying believe everybody or everything you hear is true. But what I am saying is that you do need to actually put forth a little bit of work to do your own research, educate yourself. Absolutely. But don't shoot down new perspectives and new ideas because they don't um, line up with everything that you have been taught thus far in life. I mean, I'm a perfect example of somebody who has completely transformed their way as far as how I view new information. And I came from a very closed-minded perspective. I came from a perspective of a lot of arrogance. I came from a perspective of um, thinking that I had it all figured out. So, this episode for me is, if you can wrap your head around the basics of what we talked about in this episode, you are well on your way to understanding and unlocking what life is. And that's kind of what I'm doing here, is trying to figure it out for myself. I'm still dancing in the direction of spirituality. I'm still open to a lot of different concepts. I have people coming on the show that are extremely religious and believe in intelligent design. And I have people that have, other thoughts. But I will say that David Gaggin is we just had, I don't know, a conversation that I feel was about as honest and open-minded and straightforward as you can possibly get. He seems very much like an intelligent, thoughtful, honest man. A lot of the stuff that he talked about, I had heard and read and listened to other people, excuse me, and listened to other people say the exact same thing. And when you're dancing in this world and you're hearing the same concepts over and over again from different people, from different sources, whether it be they're being channeled from somebody like Michael or Seth. And if you haven't um, gotten into any channeling of entities yet, it was one of the first things that I watched on the Gaia Network. Actually, was a TV series where this gentleman goes around. I can't remember the name of the series now; it's escaped me. But this gentleman basically went around the world and he spoke to people that were channelers, and they channeled intergalactic beings, angels, entities, councils. And when I first started watching it, it was a few years ago now. I wasn't quite where I'm at now. So I had a different lens on my eyeballs, but I was really interested in, curious, about what was happening and what they were trying to say. I was trying to be an open minded person, although it's kind of difficult at times because it does, quite frankly, seem very outrageous and impossible that people are channeling dimensions from another being. But having said that, if you haven't been exposed to it, expose yourself to it. Just just tap, just put your toe in the waters. I also read Seth Speaks, which is a book completely channeled through a woman named Jane Roberts, and he basically talks about the nature of reality, the multi-dimensional nature. David talked about him in the show. I have not heard of the Michael entity channeling, but I'm going to look it up and see what Michael has to offer, and go from there. But this episode for me, guys, was just had it all, and I really, really hope that you are picking up on these concepts. Do yourself a favor and go buy this book. It will really enlighten you, and do what David said. Sometimes you don't want to eat the whole cow, if you know what I mean. The cow, oh my God, I got to eat this whole cow. No, you don't have to eat the whole cow. Just take a little bite here and there, digest, see how it feels, let it ruminate. Just, put your toe in the water and, you know, obviously take what resonates with you and leave the rest. But I just thought this episode was just so informative and fun. And I'd love to have David back on the show. Another thing that I thought was very enlightening was even when he brought up politics, like I definitely don't want to get into politics, especially on my show that is all about love and light and spirituality and finding your path. And none of that stuff matters in the big picture. It just doesn't. And I know people get super heated and super upset. And I was one of those people too. I used to get upset too. Now I don't even know what's going on really. And we're about coming up on election. I'm like, what? There's an election in a couple weeks. Like a completely drastic change in my life as far as even that piece of the puzzle. But even when he said, um, you come down here being more liberal or more conservative and it's a choice. I mean, I would love to see people again start rising above these differences that they're stuffing down our throats on a daily basis when you watch the news or these people online that are filling you full of whatever agenda they got going on. I just want people to have their fill of it and push away from the table. I did. I pushed away from the table. I was literally just at a wedding last month with somebody that couldn't be more different than me politically and otherwise, but that person has been in my life 40 years. And if you think their personal whatever they subscribe to is going to interrupt my lifelong friendship with this person over that petty, petty, petty stuff, not in my life, not ever, not happening, nor would I let it happen to anybody else. At the end of the day, I know I'm stepping in the you know the political arena again, which I find distasteful, but I will say this: just stop. Stop listening to all the hatred that is going on when it comes to politics. Stop. Aren't you tired of it? It's a dead end street. You know what's going to lead to? Nothing good. It's none of your business what other people think. If they have whatever kind of tendencies, conservative, liberal, it's really none of your business. Be obsessed with your own soul purpose. Be obsessed with your own happiness. Be obsessed with changing whatever you want to change within you, not within someone else. That is a losing game. And you're never going to get anywhere. It's like swimming upstream. you're just not going to get there unless you're an exceptionally good swimmer, which most of us are not. Um, let's see, what about this episode? We understood how now karma works. That was interesting. I mean, so many interesting concepts, how life is designed, what happens after life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it again. This was one of my favorite shows. I would love to have David back. And hopefully, we will have more and more conversations like this one, because these truly could transform lives, perspectives, cultures. We just need people to be a little bit more open-minded and kind of let go of that programming. It's not a overnight situation. It happens in time, but I certainly think that if you could just dance a little bit in the direction of opening your mind to these concepts, you will find that they make much more sense than what we have been told or pre-programmed with. And every other institution out there is kind of crumbling, from our healthcare. Nobody believes that in our general healthcare system anymore, especially after COVID. Nobody believes in our school programs anymore. That's a huge hole. Our government, nobody believe like one there's just been so many lies told to us throughout the years. I certainly don't think we were told our real history. I certainly think there's so much more going on in our reality than what anybody has told us. And I think that we need to start letting go of our hold on this overly religious, organized religion kind of thing, because it's not serving us. It's not. And you can be comfortable in your church and like your church and feel very emotional about your so called connection with God. But I'm telling you, there is something more within, something more within. And I will leave you with this. I think David was absolutely correct. You are courageous, you're spectacular, and you absolutely have the ability to change your current circumstances, no matter what they are. No matter what they are, you have the power to change it. It is in you now. What are you waiting for? Start doing your homework. Start stepping into your path. Start finding out what your soul purpose is. It's magical. I am enjoying it like you wouldn't believe. It has been such a journey. I hope you all continue to journey with me. I am going to continue to bring as much information out there as possible. In return, just, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, something in order to keep this in momentum. I want to continue to do this for as long as possible. I need your help to do it. So go ahead and support the show, gang. I can be reached on Instagram at F period, A period, T period, E period podcast. Go ahead and hit the old follow button. I don't post as much as I should, but I'll post little clips and little updates now and again. And if you're watching me this on YouTube, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Amazon, I'm on iHeart, I'm on all of the things. Please just go ahead and recommend, like, subscribe, and we will keep journeying together. And I will see you next week on Fate, from Atheism to Enlightenment. And welcome to your fate, everyone. Journey well. Bye.